Confidence intervals for two population proportions in StatCrunch. In this video, we'll learn how to find a confidence interval for two proportions using StatCrunch. You will not have to do this by hand. Here's our example. In 2013, 2,000 men and 2,000 women were randomly selected for a Pew survey. Interviewers reported that the proportion of men who felt that embryonic stem cell research was morally wrong was 0.23, and the proportion of women who felt it was morally wrong was 0.21. Find a 95% confidence interval for the difference of proportions. To do this in StatCrunch, we just need to go to Stats, Proportion Stats, to Sample with Summary. So those are the steps we take in our StatCrunch page. If you do this, a box that looks like this is going to pop up. And we have to know what to put in all of the boxes here. So I'm going to walk you guys through what goes in all these boxes, and then we'll go to StatCrunch and I'll show you how to do it. So sample 1 we'll assume is the women, although you could do sample 1 as the men and sample 2 is the women. Usually the homework will tell you which one should be which. So for the women, we want to fill in number of successes and number of observations. So we have observed 2,000 women. So for number of observations, we're going to put 2,000 in this second box here. And then for number of successes, this just means how many women have the opinion of interest. And so we're told that 0.21 or 21% of the women believe stem cell research is wrong. So if we do 21% of 2,000, we get 420 women believe stem cell research is wrong. And that's what will go in this box here. Okay, so we do the same thing for the men. Sample 2 will be the men, and number of successes is the number of men in the sample who think stem cell research is wrong. So we found 23%, or we're told 23% of them believe it's wrong, and there are 2,000 men. So to calculate that, we do 23% of 2,000, and if you type that into the calculator, you get 460, and that's going to go in this box right here under number of successes. Number of observations is how many men we observed. We observed 2,000 men. Now watch out, sometimes you observe different numbers in each of these boxes, so you just have to look at what you're told. And so we were told there are 2,000 men and 2,000 women. Numbers happen to be the same for this example. Okay, so after we do that, we want to select a confidence interval and level in this box. So there's some more stuff below here that we have to check. So I'm going to get out of full screen and show you how to do it. So we go to Stat, Proportion Stats, to Sample, with Summary. And then click, and then this box I showed you pops up. There's a lot more going on down here, so we'll talk about that in a second. So now number of successes we found was 420, and this was 2,000. And for the men it was 460, and 2,000 people observed. And then the last thing you have to do is, instead of doing hypothesis test, which we're not doing right now, we'll see that later, we click confidence interval, and then you pick your level. 95% happens pretty frequently, but it might not be 95%. You could have like 99.7 or some other number here, so make sure it's the right number. And then you push compute, and then we get our confidence interval. Now, what should you look for here? Well, the idea is that your interval is actually right here. So the lower number for your interval is the first one, and then the higher number for your interval is this one. There's a bunch of other stuff in here that we don't necessarily need right now. The standard error is given in case you ever want to know what that is. Anyway, the key thing though is to find the confidence interval, you need these two numbers. Now, if you round these two numbers, I'll show you what you get. You end up getting a confidence interval of negative 0.046 to 0.006, or about negative 4.6% to positive 0.6%. In terms of how to interpret this, we will do that in another video.